This is All of It. I'm Allison Stewart, live from the WNYC studios in Soho. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. I'm grateful you're here, even if you're sleepy and sad after the U.S. got eliminated from the World Cup last night. On to today. Next hour, we'll speak with musicians who rocked the 1990s, singer-songwriter Sarah McLachlan, bassist Melissa Oftamar, and two members from the group The Lunatics. That's the plan, so let's get this started with a look at how New Yorkers are making friends. New York City is filled with people, but that doesn't mean it is easy to meet them. Building new friendships can be difficult for a couple of reasons. First, where do you go? A 2025 report found that a rapid decline in third place availability, gathering spaces outside of home and work. Second, how do you know there'll be anyone there you can vibe with? There is a movement to answer both questions. Social clubs like running clubs, sewing nights, and other curated events are gaining momentum. These are events designed to help strangers connect and maybe even leave with a friendly phone number. What it says about these spaces, what makes them work, and what does it say about how we're looking for community today? Joining us is New York Times reporter Christina Caron. She recently explored this growing trend in an article titled "Making New Friends is Hard. These social clubs want to make it easier." Christina, welcome to All of It.
Thank you so much for having me.
Listeners, we want to hear from you. Have you joined a social club, a running club, a dinner series to meet new people? What made you sign up? Did it actually lead to new friendships or a sense of community? Tell us about the club or an event that surprised you or one that maybe wasn't that worth it. Give us a call. Our number is 212-433-9692, 212-433-WNYC, or reach out to us on social media at All of It WNYC. Christina, how did you stumble on this story?
That's a great question. Well, actually, I was noticing that there are a lot of clubs popping up in recent years. I think some of this stemmed out of the worst years of the pandemic, where people are coming together over a shared interest. And the gatherings are finding ways to connect people in a much more structured way than if you had simply, for example, walked into a bar and not known, who do I talk to? What do we talk about? Do we have anything in common? By coming together in these kinds of environments, people already know that they have something in common. For example, if you're going to the Darn It mending group, you know that everyone else there has an interest in preserving a piece of clothing. They've brought a piece of clothing that's really meaningful to them that you can talk about why you want to save this, as opposed to just scrapping it. So it's a way that's more low pressure, but also low cost that's going to help you find your people.
What did you notice about the people signing up for these events?
Well, they're coming for all different reasons. Some people are going specifically to try to meet other people. Some will come along with a friend in tow. But in general, they're trying to get off their phones. They want to meet people in real life, and they want to have real conversations that can hopefully lead to a more, I would say, meaningful relationship, because the one thing that I have heard consistently in interviewing different people is that they find it's really easy to meet people in New York City. It's easy to find casual friends. But when it comes to finding someone who you have a deeper connection with, and a connection that's maintained, especially over the course of years, that is a lot more challenging.
We got a text here that says, I found that community gardens are both a great way to meet people in your neighborhood and also get some outside time. Go touch grass.
Yes, that's a great idea. Yes. Yeah, I love the idea of community gardens.
How did you go about finding these groups for your reporting?
Well, I want to give a shout out to a wonderful newsletter called The Joy List that is curated by Jillian Richardson. And she does a really excellent job of pulling together these kinds of activities that I described earlier that are kind of structured ways of meeting people. One that I discovered through her newsletter was called the Critical Thinking Club. It started earlier this year, and it was inspired by Philosophy Club, which has been around a bit longer in the city. And the magic of this particular club is that you're not just going to listen to a couple people debate and think about a topic and maybe mingle with people afterward. What they're doing is dividing people into small groups so that you're then being kind of forced to talk in a more intimate way with a group of 4 or 5 people. You're also given conversation prompts so that you're not just thrown into this group and wondering how do we get this conversation started. If you can't figure that out, you have a piece of paper to literally help guide you along. And that I actually watched this happen before my very eyes. It was in one of those small groups that 2 women who were total strangers both came to the event alone, really hit it off. I mean, you could just see that they kind of had similar philosophies, that they had sort of similar energies. And I was delighted to see that at the end of the night, they just kept talking and actually just walked off down the block together, just continuing their conversation.
It's kind of interesting because I went on the Critical Thinking Club website and it said, among the discussions, it said, the goal isn't to win an argument, it's to improve how we listen, disagree, and express our opinions without distancing each other. That's a big part of it.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's such a good point because they are giving people the guidelines that they need to have what's hopefully going to be a productive, fun, intellectual discussion, so that things don't go off the rails. They're also very careful about the subjects they choose. The night that I attended, they had a subject that was about whether New Yorkers should have more sex or not, looking at some of the statistics that have recently come out about how younger adults are having less sex. It was kind of a fun topic, but it also led to more serious discussion as well. And I think having those sort of prompts that they had created ahead of time kept everyone focused in a positive way.
We are talking about social events designed to bring people together around a topic of interest, be it running or sewing or puzzling. New York Times reporter Christina Caron wrote about this in her piece titled Making New Friends is Hard. These social clubs want to make it easier. Let's go to our phones. Let's talk to Jane in Croton. Hi, Jane. Thanks for calling.
Hi, thank you. One thing that no one has mentioned, which seems really obvious to me, is church. I think people still go to church. I mean, a lot of people, and there's a lot of different things that go on at church. There's summer festivals, there's clothing sales, where people gather and get together. So it's a real easy way to meet people and have fun at the same time.
Thank you so much for calling, Jane. Let's talk to Shannon, calling from Manhattan. Hey, Shannon, thanks for calling all of it.
Sure, thank you. Love your show.
Thanks.
So I've been sober for 6 years, and I had very few friends when I was out there in the bars. And now being in Alcoholics Anonymous, I have more friends than I know what to do with. And while I don't make light of this incredible life-saving program, we're not just a glum lot that sits in a church basement. We go out. I organize a sober karaoke night. We have camping. We have parties. And the laughter in those rooms is just infectious. I started doing stand-up because there's so much humor and joy in those rooms and just great material. And we always say how lucky we are that we have this program because, we can meet all walks of life, people who have never been, would never come together. And we have something that we wish that everybody had. So it's a wonderful place to get healthy, both physically, spiritually, and emotionally, and meet amazing people.
Shannon, thank you for sharing your story. Let's talk to Kim in Clinton Hill. Hey, Kim, what's up?
Hi. Again, like church, there's another obvious answer, which is book clubs, which I have belonged to a book club for about 10 years as a very niche topic. But what I'm calling in about is something similar to book clubs I've seen crop up. There is a movie club that I've belonged to for a while that has a similar model where everyone saw the same movie on their own, and then gathered to talk about it. We had one very interesting meeting once where someone came to the group after we were discussing RRR. He was an Indian gentleman who was visiting the city, and he said the only reason he came by to talk about it was because he wanted to know why everyone here in the U.S. was so excited about RRR and had this whole perspective that the rest of us just would never have gotten into. The other thing that is actually becoming kind of common I've seen is called reading parties, where it's not a book club. Everyone can bring whatever book they want to the venue, and then the first hour or so, everyone's just sitting there and reading. And then the last hour, everyone just chats about what they read and what they're into. And I've seen a lot of people. There's a library. I go to their reading parties, and I've seen regulars like ask each other about the books that they're reading and actually take down book recommendations and even go on to suggest bookstores that they visited. So.
Thank you so much for calling, Kim. Okay, Christina, here's a question for you. This says, with all due respect, groups and clubs have always existed to bring people with a common interest together. What's new here? That's from Bruce in New Jersey. What's new?
You know, Bruce, it's a fair question. Absolutely. I think that this is new because I'm seeing that these are groups that are giving people really specific instructions on how to interact with each other. They're not simply getting together as you might with a book club where everyone's reading the same book and then coming together to discuss that book. One of the newer clubs that's popped up, and this is kind of related to what the last caller just said, this is called Reading Rhythms, and everyone's bringing their own individual book. And part of the reason for that is so that people can have something to discuss that's a little bit different. You know, you feel passionate about the book you brought. You're not all being asked to look at the exact same thing, but instead you're educating other people about the books that you love and also learning about new books in the process. So it's just a way, I think, of holding people's hands a little more through the process, because I think given how much of our lives are online these days, it has become increasingly intimidating for people to talk to each other these days. And it sounds, I mean, I'm from an older generation, I'll admit, that sounds, I realize, a little strange to say, but it's what I consistently hear from the younger generations, that it is hard to even pick up the phone to talk to someone.
I wondered if it had to do with remote work.
You know, I think remote work definitely played a role. And I think I feel for any employee who was coming into a company for the first time during that period. It was incredibly hard to get to know anybody. And we kind of became accustomed to doing everything online over Zoom, over Slack, which has really erased a lot of in-person office conversations. So yes, it's prevalent, it's not going away, but people still hunger for that in-person connection and sometimes feel that they're at a loss to know how to go about doing it.
We're talking about social events designed to bring people together on a topic of interest, be it running, sewing, or puzzling. New York Times reporter Christina Carone, she wrote about in her piece titled, Making New Friends is Hard. These social clubs want to make it easier. Listeners, we'd like to hear from you. What is a social club you joined? Tell us about it. Our number is 212-433-WNYC, 212-433-9692. What did you get out of it? This says, another great way to make friends is if you have a dog is to go to the dog park every day. I ended up making friends within a few weeks of going regularly, and we now have a group chat and coordinate our dog park visits so we can hang out together while the dogs play. This says, I found community by joining my local run club on the island. Both of them are based out of breweries. A combination of beer and running becomes a built-in connection. This one says, Clay Studios. We have one in South Orange that has open hours and membership. You can chat with people in the studio about their projects or be silent in the company of others. Let's take a call. Let's talk to Deborah, who's calling in from Flatbush. Hey, Deborah, thank you for taking the time to call All of It.
Hey, Allison. Thank you so much. I just wanted to talk about singing together, specifically circle singing, and I'm part of a quartet called Kaleidoscope Vocal Improv. We just sang with Make Music Day in Central Park, where passers-by, people signed up online, and there were about 30 of us singing together. The leaders, which I'm one of, hands out certain phrases to sing, do da ba 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 da do da something, and there's harmony, and people are smiling and they're moving to the rhythm. We are inspired by Bobby McFerrin and Musica do Circolo, and we actually have an event coming up Thursday, July 16th, from 7 to 9 in Cobble Hill at Christ Church. And if it's okay to say our Gmail address, folks can write to us there if they'd like to join.
All right, say it real quick.
KSOPEVOCALQTET Kscope Vocal Quartet. And, you know, people are feeling like they're in harmony spiritually. They're smiling, they're laughing. You talked earlier about exchanging numbers, and people do. And it's something where people can come together and forget about what's happening in the world.
Thank you so much for calling in. You know, Christina, you spoke to a 40-year-old woman who lives on the Lower East Side who said that meeting people is the easy part because she's outgoing. However, people think she has a lot of friends, but she's actually quite lonely. I found it to be sort of a sad moment in your story.
Yes, you're referring to Sasha. Yes, she has had some difficulty finding more long-term intimate friendships. And I can attest to this, having met her, is incredibly outgoing, and she wears her heart on her sleeve too. She has not been able to find in New York City those more close connections that she's craving. And in fact, she told me recently that she's considered leaving the city for that reason. But you know, because she's involved in so many different things, I really have a lot of hope that she's going to meet someone, or at least maybe a couple people who she can have those longer term, closer kinds of friendships that she's wanting. And I want to also mention to our last caller, I was in a choir in college, and some of my closest friends were in that choir that we've still remained friends to this day. And there is something beautiful about singing together and having that moment of release where nothing else matters but your voice.
Let's get 2 more calls in here. Let's talk to Paula from Pomona. Hey, Paula. Thanks for calling All of It.
Hey, can you hear me?
Sure, go for it. Tell us what group you're in.
Yes. A friend from high school turned me on to a group called Stitch, Stitch. And it's an international group for people over 50. You can find people who share common interests. You can communicate with them online or have local meetups. And there have even been international trips. So I've just come back from 2 Stitch trips, one to Sicily and one to Ireland, and met wonderful people from all over the world and made some friends. So I would recommend that anybody look into stitch.net and,
there you go.
Enjoy yourself.
This says there's a new fairly small group called Book Karaoke that meets on the last Saturday of every month at the Bookmark Shop in Bay Ridge, where people take turns reading aloud their favorite books for about 4 minutes each. I've been a couple of times, and you meet amazing cross-section of Bay Ridge readers. The next one is Saturday, July 25th. At 6 p.m. This one, me and my friend made a roller skating social group for girls, gays, and theys. It's super rewarding because skate parks are very intimidating and make skateboarding dominated by men easy to go to. What kind of mindset should you go in with if you want to join a group?
If you want to join a group and you're going in with a positive mindset, that's the best way to approach it. Know that. Also, don't put pressure on yourself that you're going to necessarily find your bestie in that one event. But what can happen oftentimes is people have multiple chance encounters, and it happens so often. You wouldn't think so in such a big city, but I have heard this from multiple people at this point that you will run into the same people and things will naturally, organically develop over time. Just try to go in to have fun. And if that's your main goal, I think it's going to be a day well spent, regardless of whether you meet a really close friend or not.
And we finish up with our last caller, Debbie, calling in from Queens. Hey, Debbie, you're our last caller.
Okay, hello. You hear me?
Yep, go for it.
Okay, well, I'm calling from Queens, and I want to give a huge recommendation for the Queens Public Library that has many different interest groups of all types, and the ones that I particularly go to are knitting and crochet groups where you can both get help in those crafts and just general friendship chatting. And the other one, which is new to me, in an attempt to keep my brain from turning to mush, is Mahjong. And there are Mahjong groups in the library where they have the sets, and all you need is a group of 4, and you can play Mahjong.
Debbie, you want to stick around for the rest of the show because we're talking about Mahjong next. We have been talking to Christina Caron. She wrote the piece, Making New Friends is Hard. These social clubs want to make it easier. Thanks for being with us, Christina.
Thank you so much for having me.